This is Coda Identity and the Interpreter Education Experience. Hi, I'm Brandon Arthur, and I'm here at the conference in Kentucky. Today I have a great person here with me. Her name is Amy Williamson. She's a longtime friend of mine. And today we're going to be talking about Coda, and I'm really just excited to discuss these things with Amy about her Coda experience and all of her stories about Codas and how they develop their language. So I just want to say thanks, Amy, for coming and visiting me tonight. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Honored, really. So I think we invited you, and this is your first time here talking about this topic here at this conference. That's a really good question. I think, I've presented twice. I've had a workshop presentation before, and this is my second time. So your research really has started to get almost widespread, just talking about your Coda experiences, the positive things about that, the challenges they face, and how to teach them as interpreters and what education training they should have. So if you could tell us about that. Yeah, definitely. It's really been interesting because for a lot of years, we've heard a lot of different things about Codas being interpreters, and it's really frustrating. So I've really just collected all of the stories so I can say, yes, like I have this collection of Coda experiences. And a lot of the time they are asking for proof. Well, what is your proof of these? And so I finally have that collected. And we know that there needs to be an education improvement on how they're trained to become interpreters. And, I think education knows that too. And so I just kind of talked to them about some ideas on how to improve that. So what do you think the root of all of this frustration, where is that from, and why, if in your evidence, if that's popped up, and how is that in relation to the education setting for interpreters? I really think that the root is complex. There's a lot of different things to factor in. There's the perfect form of interpreting. There's government funding for education. There's a lot of bylaws that are required of interpreters. And there's different bylaws depending on the setting. There's schools, there's government, and then the general public. So there's just a lot of different bylaws depending on the setting. And I think it started small, the government funding for interpreting, and I do believe that they were on the right track, but all of the laws, everything is changing. VRS, there's more interpreters now too. And it's almost become like a factory. Time is so important, and so they're having to quickly educate these interpreters to be, and they're trying to match the need of the community, and so they're trying to make time important, but it's kind of becoming a factory. And so I think that whole thing, all of that is really just the root of the frustration. And so that system that's in place, how did we arrive here? What are your thoughts? What are your suggestions? What's working in that environment? What should we try? What are the issues and the struggles in that environment? And how can that transition into the interpreting world? And how do Codas fit into all of that? That's a really good question. I just need to clarify, do you mean for students trying to become interpreters or the CODAs, for the CODAs. So in my presentation, there's a few different things that I've talked about. First is that we're first-time language users, so a lot of our language and our sign is just at home, and there's only exposure from our family, or if we have a deaf family and their friends, and oftentimes our language structure is a little bit limited. And I've researched that, and I do understand that that's something that our skills need to be developed in, but it is different than hearing people who are using sign language as their L2. It's not their first language. And also as a CODA, we've already experienced interpreting. We grew up interpreting, and in this field, there's the study of language translation and, L1 and L2. But as a CODA, we've already experienced that, where we are taking in one language and then passing that on and interpreting it to someone else. And so we have that structure already down. And a lot of people who are becoming interpreters, they've never had that experience before. And so there's two things: you to understand it and to be able to produce that language. And that's something that we can do as CODAs. So there's a lot of things out there in your research on CODA and their experience. How do you feel about that? I mean, people are looking at your work and you're showing them something that is hopefully going to continue to make an impact. And it's amazing. It's a huge group of people that will hopefully continue to look at your work. Oh, stop it. I mean, I feel that it's not me. I think it's their stories. It's each individual stories. It just so happened that I had the time and the commitment and energy, and I was interested and motivated. I have passion for this, and I want to share those stories. But, I mean, I really feel honored. I feel lucky. And after today is finished, a few people have come up to me, and they said, wow, I have experienced that too. And really, I'm just kind of the middleman. I'm sharing the stories. So what's next? What else research are you going to have that's related to the CODA experience? What do you hope to do next in your line of work? I mean, me, I don't know. Hopefully a few different things. I would love to see more specific CODA trainings, just the way that there are specific for deaf interpreters. I'd like to see more classes that are focused on expansion and our language skills, specifically for CODAs. And I'd love to see more discussion about ethics and boundaries. Again, specifically to CODAs, I think that's something we need. I would just really love to see research that's really looking at the deaf community and how they view CODA interpreters. If it's something that they support or if there are negative impacts of that and how we can improve. I want to know how we know a little bit about how CODAs are viewed. But how do people in interpreting programs view CODAs? And we don't really know what deaf people think of CODAs. So I would just really like to see the different views and all of that experience in the interpreting programs. Well, I'm excited to read your research, and I hope that, it continues and you have more research and more things to show, because I really think it's of value and it's important to have this access. Thank you so much for coming and sitting down with me. Again, you are doing a great job, and just hats off to you. Thank you so much for being involved. Thank you.